Hello friends, welcome to my channel. So welcome to a new video that is basically based on the interview experience. So today we are going to discuss about the EY GDS front-end developer interview. So if I give a small intro about EY GDS, so basically it is a subsidiary of EY. EY is a Big 4 that stands for Ernst& Young, and it is headquartered in London, UK. And EY GDS basically works with the foreign clients. GDS stands for Global Delivery Services. And if I talk about this interview, so this interview is basically for 2 years of experience or maybe like 3 years of experience. And the technologies that I'm going to cover in this interview is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React.js. And the eligibility for this role is 2 or 3 plus of years of experience. So yeah, so here as you can see that the experience is 2 plus and the duration for this interview is 40 minutes and the designation for this interview is senior software engineer. So friends, if I take you further, before I take you further, please like and subscribe my channel so that you don't miss any video that I upload in the near future, because I mostly upload these kind of interviews like technical interviews or HR interviews, as well as any job vacancies available in multiple different companies. So please like and subscribe, and let's roll out our new video. So if I move to the technical round, because there are 2 rounds, if I like basically give a basic intro. So there are 2 rounds. The first is technical and the second is HR. The HR was telephonic round and the technical round was based on Teams. So yeah, there are 4 sections in the technical interview. Basically, like the questions belong from 4 different topics: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React.js. So in this round, the interview, like I got lucky to get a chance to get myself interviewed in this EY GDS, and also the verdict. If I tell about you the results, so I got selected for this senior software engineer role in EY GDS. And so yeah, just I wanted to share my experience with you all. So let's start the questions. So as you can see, the first question was from HTML, that is, what are semantic elements in HTML5? So this is also like one of the basic questions of HTML. Semantic elements are the elements that give us some meaning, like from the name itself. Like, so for example, if we say headers, footers, so from the name itself we understand that header is something that is on the head of the document, like of the web page. Footer is something that is at the below of the web page. So like this, we have multiple tags in semantic elements like audio, video, header, footer, article, section, and all. So these all are called semantic elements. And then the second question he asked me, like, what is the doc type HTML? So yeah, doc type basically tells us that this document is of HTML type to the browser, so that it will load it as per the HTML rules. So that is what doc type HTML is. And then the second question he asked me was, what is block and inline elements? So friends, this is also like one of the basic questions. Block elements are the elements that starts with a new line. For example, H1 tag, H2 tag, P tag. So these all are block elements. And if I talk about inline elements, so these elements are the elements that don't require a new line to get rendered. So for example, span tag or em tag, b tag, or hr tag. So these all are inline elements. And then the next question he asked me is, what is data list tag? So friends, data list tag is basically important tag that is mostly asked in most of the interviews. So if I explain you about the data list tag, so suppose if you have a input box in your document, like in your DOM, and if a user is going to type something into the input box, so as soon as he start typing into the box, he will get a auto-generated list of suggestions. And if he wants to select any of the values from that list, so he can select from that list. Otherwise, he can also type in the input box to add a different value that is not present in that list. So that is what data list tag is. Yeah, so the next question is, what is class and ID attribute? So this is also basic question that is mostly asked in the HTML interviews. So basically, class and ID attributes is basically used for the CSS, like for the decoration of the tags. So if I talk about the difference, so class, like for multiple elements we can have the same class name, but the ID, like for multiple elements we can't have the same ID value. Like for the ID is a unique value, like every tags have a different ID values. So that is the difference in between class and ID. And if I talk about the next questions, so then he started asking me the CSS questions. So the question that he asked me was like, what is the difference between display none and visibility hidden? So this is also like one of the easiest questions. Like display none is for display none means, like suppose we have a div block, div you what to say, like div block, and we in the styling of the div we put like display equal to none. So then whatever we have into that div block will not be displayed into our document, into our web page. But if we put visibility equal to hidden, then that div will be like placed into the DOM, but that like it is not visible, but it will be like placed in the DOM. That means like it will take the space, but it is not like visible to the user. And in the case of display equal to display none, the div tag will not take any space also on the document, on the DOM. So that is the difference between display none and visibility hidden. And then he asked me, the next question was like, what is flexbox? So flexbox is also like most of the asked questions in CSS. So if I talk about the flexbox, so flexbox is a property in CSS in which we have a div, like suppose we have a parent div, and inside that parent div we have multiple child divs. So the parent div, in the parent div we will give a class name as flex container, and all the child divs will be placed like beside each other in the same like line, like div 1, div 2, div 3. The child divs will be placed in a single line, one after the another, in a horizontal way, not in a vertical way. So that is what flexbox is. And then he asked me, what is pseudo class and pseudo elements? So this is also one of the important questions that that is basically asked by the interviewers in most of the companies. So if I talk about pseudo class, so pseudo class we can say is for if I explain with the help of an example. So pseudo class is basically you can you have heard of like dot hover, focus, active, visited. So these all are called pseudo class. And pseudo elements is when we have to decorate a specific part of our page. Like suppose if we have a p tag and we want to highlight or decorate the first line of that paragraph, so then that is like the first line, first character, first sentence, these all are pseudo elements. So this is the basic difference between pseudo class and pseudo elements. And then he asked me, what is the box model property? So yeah friends, like this is also an important question. So box model property contains four things, like the border, the padding, margin, and the content itself. So the margin and padding is basically the padding. We can say that the padding is the difference between the space between the border and the content, and the margin is the difference between the padding and the border and the outer DOM. So yeah, this and the content itself, like whatever we want to print or the like display on the DOM, that is called content itself. So yeah, this is the box model property. And then he asked me a code, like how write a code to center a div horizontally as well as vertically. So friends, for this, like we have to take two divs. One is the outer div and the other one is the inner div. And in the inner div we will take some p tag or any tag, and we'll give write hello or anything into the p tag. And then we have to take for the outer div we have to write CSS, like the position will be relative, and for the inner div the position will be absolute. And for the outer div we will have to write the write height and all, like margin will be 0 and height is some like 100 or 200 pixels. And then for the inner div we have to write also like top, left, right and all, like we have to write values and margin as well. So yeah friends, so this is about the CSS part. So now we will move to the JavaScript part, because then he started asking me questions from JavaScript. So there are basic questions from JavaScript, like what is closure. So friends, as we all know that closure is one of the important concept of JavaScript. So closure is a property in which like the inner function access the outer scope, like outer variable or outer values, and use it for its inner in its inner scope. So that is what closure is. And then he asked me what is currying. So if I give you a small if I explain you with the help of a small example. So suppose we have a multiply function that takes in three parameters a, b, c. So and it returns the multiplication of all those three numbers. So if we curry that function, like if we apply currying on that function, then what we have to do, like we have to like what currying is, like suppose we have a function with n parameters, so we have to convert that function into n functions of a single parameter. So then we will write three functions, one inside another one, with a single parameter in each of them, and then the innermost function will return the multiplication of all those three numbers. So that is what currying does. And friends, if you want me to come with practical examples, then please comment in the video, so that I can make new videos of these like individual concepts, like what is currying, what is closure and all. So friends, after that he asked me what is the difference between null and undefined. So null is basically like if we check the type of null, so type of null is like object, and if we check the type of undefined, so undefined is of undefined type, like the type of undefined is also undefined. And if we suppose we declared some value like variable like const a, but we didn't initialize that a, so if we try to print out that a variable, we will get undefined. But that is not in the case of null. Null is basically assigned to some variable, like suppose const b equal to null. So in that case, b, when we try to print b, we will get null. So null is of object type and undefined is of undefined type. So this is the basic difference between null and undefined. Then he asked me about how to add and delete elements from the beginning of an array in JavaScript. So friends, this is also one of the questions that is basically based on the array methods. Like we have multiple methods in our array, like join, shift, unshift, slice and all. So here for adding and deleting an element from the beginning of the array, we have two methods. That is, for adding we have shift method, unshift method, and for deleting we have shift method. So for deleting you have to just write shift, and then it will the method will delete the number from the beginning and return that element. And if I talk about unshift, so we have to pass the elements into unshift method, like whichever we want to add into our array. So that is for adding the elements into the array at the beginning position, like at the starting position. So that is about adding and deleting. So then he asked me about the next question, like how to get the deepest nested key of window object in JavaScript. So friend, if you don't know, like window is the one of the global objects in JavaScript, and it is like in the format of like there are multiple nested objects also inside a window object. And then like the interviewer asked me like to print all the keys that is not type of object, like that is not more nested. I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to say. So for that, what I did, like I used the object.keys method, and then get the keys of the window object, and then I checked for the keys, like if the type of those keys are object, then we have to again do the same thing recursively. So I created a recursive function that will keep on checking, like if the type of the key is object, then it will again nested deeply nested in a recursive way. Otherwise, if it is not of type object, then it will push the key into a array list or array. So at the last, the array that we receive at the end, it contains all the keys that are no more nested of the window object. So like that I resolved that problem. And then we have the next question is how to compare two objects in JavaScript. So friends, this is also one of the like most asked questions. So basically what happens, like if you want to compare two objects, then you can use two methods. Like one is the json.stringify. Like you pass the like the object name, like suppose you have first object as object 1 and the second is object 2, and then you pass it into the json.stringify method, like json.stringify then object 1, and then use the triple equal to, and then json.stringify then object 2. So like that you will get either true or false. If you get true, then it means the objects are equal, otherwise the objects are not equal. Otherwise you can also use the object.keys method, so that you will get the keys of the objects, and then from the keys you can compare, like if this key is present in this object or not. So in that way also you can compare both the objects, whether it is equal or not. So after that we have the question from React.js as well. So here you can see we have some couple of questions from Promise and like use React hooks. So the question that the interviewer asked me was like, what is promise.all? So friends, if I talk about promise.all, so it is also a type of promise that takes in a like a set of array, like takes in an array of promises, and it will be resolved only when all the promises that it takes as parameter is resolved, or if any one of them get rejected. And also there is one more point to note, like if the promises are resolved in the same order in which they are passed in the parameters. Like suppose we passed promise 1, promise 2, promise 3 in the array. So the in the result we will also get the output of promise 1 first, then promise 2, then promise 3. So yeah, that is about promise.all. And then the next question is, what is the difference between use memo and use callback hooks? So friends, these both hooks are basically used to optimize our app performance. So use memo is basically used for calculating like performing expensive calculations. So it basically use cache memory where it stores the data, and if we pass the same input again, so it will search in the cache. If it is like stored in the cache, it will not perform the whole operation again. It will just take the result from the cache and display it, like provide the value. And it does not it returns a value, and use callback hooks returns a callback function. And use callback is basically used for optimizing the performance of React app. So yeah, this is the difference between use memo and use callback. Then the interviewer asked me what are the lifecycle methods in React. So friends, React in the lifecycle method there are couple of methods, like component will mount, render, component did mount, and should component update, and component did update, component will unmount. So these methods are there, and these all methods are like for different phases. Like we have three phases: mounting, unmounting, and updating. So unmounting is the phase when the component is destroyed from the DOM, and mounting is the phase when the component is placed in the DOM, and updating is the phase when there is a update, like there is a state change in the DOM in the component. So yeah, this is all about the lifecycle methods. Yeah, so friends, the next question the interviewer asked me is, what is component did catch? So friends, this is also one of the lifecycle methods, but it is deprecated now. It is basically used for the error handling in React.js. Suppose you have a component that is having some error. So in React, basically this method is basically used for handling that error. We don't want the whole app to get crashed just because of that error. So for handling, for like what component did catch will do, like it will handle that error and don't let the whole app got crashed. So that is what component did catch is. But now as it is deprecated, so we have React error boundary package also. So we can like import it into our app and then like get the error boundary class from it. So yeah, that is like alternative of this component did catch. So after that we have after that the interviewer asked me like write a code to toggle using a button, like toggle a paragraph or anything using using a button click. So friends, I have resolved that code. Like I have written the code. Like here you have to just like create a use state using use state hook, and you have to pass the default value as true. And as the button will be clicked, like what I did, like I took a paragraph and printed hello in it, and when the button is clicked, that hello is disappeared, and when the button is again like clicked, the button will be appeared. So like that the toggling was happen. So yeah, this is easy code, that is not a big task. And then after that the interviewer asked me another code, that is to do list. So friends, here what I did, like I created a dummy array, dummy object or array you can say, which have some list of tasks, and then I displayed it using the map property, like array.map. And then also I created an input box. The input box has a button, and like add button, and as I start typing in the input box, the new value, like the new task will be, as soon as I click on that add button, the new task will be added into the existing array list, like the dummy array list. And also every task, like a part of, like beside of the every task, there is a delete button and complete button. So as if you click on delete button or complete button, that task will be deleted from the bucket. So like this you have to he told me, like the interviewer told me to create a to-do list. And then the last question that he asked me is like, what is Redux and its components? So basically Redux is a state management library in React.js, and it is basically preferred for larger applications. And if I talk about the components of React.js, React Redux. So Redux is basically, there are three components: action, reducers, and store. And there is one more component, that is view. So friends, action is like when event is triggered, so that is called action. And reducer is the components of Redux that basically takes the action and the initial state, and apply that action on the state and give us the new value of state. And view is and store is the value that is like that contains the sort of like central repository that basically contains the state of our application. So that is called store. So friends, this is all about the interview, and thank you so much for watching the whole video.